Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to talk about running away from your artwork and, in that sense, getting distance between you and the creative process. Those initial scribbles and marks that you make when you're trying to get something out of your head and onto the canvas, onto the piece of paper, onto the screen, wherever it is, or however it is, whether it is drawing, painting, writing, sewing, making. And this really came to me a few days ago when I realized that, looking back over my sketchbooks, this one in particular, that actually I now really quite like everything in this sketchbook, and yet each and every one of these sketches I have had trouble with when I first finished even these really intricate inkscapes for time lapses on Instagram. I always thought that there could be more, there should be more, that somehow it was a rushed concept, that it was not perfect, it was unfinished, it was in the state of somehow becoming. And funnily enough, it was going back through this and going, actually, I quite like all of these. I don't know why I'm so harsh on myself. Why did I think, for example, that guy wasn't a perfectly fine little man? You know. And I think it's through realizing that, looking at these drawings and then thinking about it for a while, that I realized that the difference is where it is in my head, in that sense. So, for example, here's another sketchbook that I've been more recently working on, and this is a drawing that I keep on coming back to, some sort of street lamp, I think, with other things going on around it, the cat at the bottom, the hand at the top. I'm not quite sure what it is, and I keep on adding to this pencil sketch, but with each addition I somehow feel as though I might have ruined it, so I quickly close the book, put it down and step away. And then when I come back to it, it seems fine. I haven't got a problem with it. It's actually coherent and cohesive, and I add something else, and then the cycle sort of repeats. And it was these realizations, along with just having a bit of a chat in the car one day with Mrs. Soup, that I realized that the difference is that when I'm doing these drawings, they are in a state of potential, in potentia. They are not yet formed. They are manifesting. They are occurring as I am drawing them, and in that sense, they are open-ended. And that open-endedness may, in my head, look slightly different to how they end up on the page. But regardless, there is something vital, crackling, bristling in the act of creation, in the act of mark making on the page, that is itself a sort of a third place. It's neither completely an idea yet to be made. It's also not that idea that you're trying to seek out and find on the page. That third place is what it is now on the page. And so I think when you come back to it, it's no longer directly connected to your brain. It is now outside of your head, and it's taken on its own vitality, its own completeness, its own reason for existing. And I think that it's that moment of discomfort that presumably I'm not alone in tackling, or having to try and get over every time I sit down and do a new sketch, a new drawing, a new doodle, because every time feels risky. You know, it feels like that direct connection I'm having with the page could result in catastrophe. And yet, more often than not, it doesn't. Now, sometimes it does, and it has, and especially when I was a teenager. In fact, this sketchbook is from when I was in high school, and it has many pages missing. Like, it's much thinner than it was when it was new, because I kept on tearing pages out of it. I kept on thinking that somehow these sketchbooks were meant to be archival. They were supposed to be something for me to look back on, and every single page with pride immediately, that somehow they could be put on a shelf, or that other people could look at them for reference as to what it was that I got up to in whatever, the year 2000 or something. But no, that's not what sketchbooks are for, and I've only recently started to understand this. They are the place where you do first drafts, where you can make mistakes. And this may seem obvious. It's obvious to me in the saying of it. If you'd asked me what a sketchbook is for, I would have told you that, in fact. But I never quite believed it, I think, because somehow I thought I was meant to be doing my best work immediately at the end of my pencil every single time, and that's not the case. And yet there's something beautiful in that. There's a couple of digital sketches I've done recently, for example, where in the course of a couple of hours, squiggles and lines become imbued with colour and concept, and then take on a presence of their own. These two, for example, I'm very happy with, because I embraced and accepted that in a couple of days' time I will look back on them as finished things. The air had got to them. They had solidified somewhat. They were no longer infinitely malleable. They had something to say which was imbued in their particular form. Whether or not that form was what I fully intended when I first put pen to paper kind of becomes irrelevant. And it's funny how that can happen even to you as the artist, let alone you as the viewer who comes to the art hours, days, weeks, months, years later. And I just find that really interesting. I just thought I'd just get this out there, this idea of running away. Maybe the best thing to do is to do your art and then just put it down, figuratively, emotionally in particular, and physically perhaps, and then come back to it. Sprint away for a while and then come back with surprising delight. Now obviously these aren't my only two sketchbooks. I have others lying around the house, and with that in mind I need to go and investigate those, because I think I have in the past put them down thinking, oh, they're rubbish, I'm never gonna be able to have a sketchbook that I'm happy with. But actually I am happy with these, because none of them are final, but they've all got little moments of gold dust, little bits and bobs that I can take into other artwork, and that's valuable, and that's what a sketchbook is for. So yeah, I don't know how many of you out there needed to hear this, or if this hopefully has been interesting to you, but I just simply had to take a moment to talk about it today. Thank you for watching. Until next time, do take care. Bye bye.